Donald Trump has seen through Putin's lies, and the Kremlin has rejected all possible peace initiatives. What and from whom should we expect in the coming weeks or maybe months regarding the Russian-Ukrainian war? What reactions and scenarios we'll discuss right now. My name is Iryna Uzlova, and today with us is Michael Sheitelman, political strategist. Michael, hello, glad to see you. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening, Iryna.
Yes, President Donald Trump reposted on his page on the social network Truth Social, sharing a New York Post publication with the title "Statement about the attack on Putin shows that it is Russia that is standing in the way of peace." The article of the publication emphasized that the Kremlin statements about the alleged Ukrainian strike on Putin's residence are lies. At the same time, it is indicated that any attacks on the Russian dictator would be justified. Putin's entire war is a lie, a special military operation to denazify a country that is not ruled by Nazis. In this case, common sense indicates a fabricated or embellished narrative to give Russia a reason to reject Trump's progress, the publication says. So what will Trump's next steps be now that he is beginning to understand who is really to blame for the breakdown of the peace talks? And by the way, why do you think and who do you think influenced Trump to not believe in Putin's latest attempt at this manipulation?
Okay, this is very interesting case, really. This sharing or reposting of this article on the December 31st, on the last day of the year. It is very interesting. And what is most important, what is this article? What is the source of this article? What is the source of the information? And what is the source of the opinion which was brought in this article? So, first, it is not just any newspaper. It is New York Post. New York Post is the favorite newspaper of President Trump. That is like Fox TV is his favorite TV channel, and New York Post is his favorite newspaper. And the only newspaper which he really reads each day. Second, this newspaper owned by News Corporation of Rupert Murdoch, of one of the biggest Republican media mogul and the most influential media man in Republican Party. So that was published personally for Mr. Trump, not for anybody else, not for just any readers. And third, this article has no author. This article has no any journalist whose name was marked under this text. This is the editorial article. The article which was prepared by all the editorial board of New York Post. And it means that all the journalists and all the analysts in the staff of this newspaper, they support this opinion. This is not opinion of one person. This is the opinion of Republican journalism. That's it.
And of the a whole world, because really all around Donald Trump in civilization countries understands that this incident with attack on Putin residence is only one part of big Putin lie.
Yeah, but this article has the title. The title is about the Putin lie, about the attack on the residence, etc., etc. By the way, President Trump not only shared the article, he also copied and pasted the name, the title of this article. So it means that this sentence, this statement from now is President Trump's statement, not only a newspaper statement.
And really, when I first looked on it yesterday, I thought that it's Trump's statement. So you're quite right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. And he meant that, that this is his statement. Because the real information, as we know from Wall Street Journal, he received from CIA, Central Intelligence Agency, which checked this claim by a Russian that Ukraine attacked the residence of Mr. Putin and said that that is not true, that is the fake. But it is very interesting to read the article itself in New York Post. And this is not article about only this attack. Not only about this attack. Yeah, they say that, by the way, Putin is legitimate war target, so why not? But it was not the fact, etc., etc. But the most important and the biggest part of this article says to Mr. Trump, and why I say that this article prepared personally for Mr. Trump, that Putin and Russian Federation, not only President of Russia Putin, they are antagonists of Trump policy all around the world. And they try to blame Trump's policy in each region on the planet, not only in Ukraine. And they, in this article, they brought examples. They brought an examples from Mediterranean Sea, where some it was some Russian ship which sent in the Mediterranean Sea, and it brought nuclear weapon to North Korea. Okay, elements of nuclear weapon, obviously not the bomb itself, yeah, to North Korea. And they also claim in this article that Russia supplies Iran in some technologies, and that Russia stopped the strikes against Iran. I don't know, I don't remember exactly the story, but it means that Russia staying on the Iranian side, and Russia is the reason why nuclear potential of Iran was not destroyed totally. As you know, exactly the one day before this publication, Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, visited Mar-a-Lago.
Yes, after Zelensky visit next day.
The residence, yeah. And why he visited? He asked from President Trump to allow the new strikes against Iran and to participate from American side for new strikes against Iran, which continues its nuclear program. And the third region is Venezuela, which is the hottest region for President Trump now. And the newspaper and the editorial board, they claims that Russia support Maduro and Russia supply counter missiles weapon to Venezuela. And this is very painful facts to President Trump. So obviously they claim, I mean the article and the people who stands after this article, they claim from Trump to strike against Putin, to strike for sanctions, and to strike by supplying new very mortal weapon to Ukraine against Russian Federation. And this is very serious claim, obviously. So, as a summary, this is brilliant news for Ukrainians. This is brilliant news for all the people in free world on one side. But I should also a little bit disappoint the people of free will. Mr. Trump is not stable. His psychological statement is not stable, obviously. He changes his mind daily. And who is the last who stayed or sit near Trump? He bring the new opinion and put it to his head for our sorrow. And we are witnesses of this process during a year now. And we can't we can't believe that the current state of mind of President Trump will survive long term. It could survive some couple of weeks, and in a couple of weeks again he will say that, oh, Zelensky is the guilty guy in the Russia-Ukraine war. So yes, if we were we were business with some, let's say, stable person, stable psychologically, so we could say, wow, it is the great victory for the free world, but not in the case of President Trump for Masoru. But, we have not only President Trump, he is not alone on the political Olymp of United States. We have White House staff, we have administration, and each part of administration, we could say, let's say, State Department, and we have congressmen, and we have congresswomen, and we have Senate, and we have a Republican Party, and we also read this article. That is important. We read this article, and we now will support this opinion of President Trump, I believe. Anti-Russian opinion, obviously.
Yes, and Putin's position won't change. It's the same from year to year, and we see that even in that congratulation Russians on the new year, Putin expressed confidence in victory over Ukraine. He mentioned about his special war operation, it means war against Ukraine, and only about this topic. So maybe this unchangeable position of Putin will influence on Trump's position.
Oh, I don't believe that sitting with his family, Mr. Trump switch on TV and watch the congratulations from President Putin
Thanks
to
God,
Russian,
really,
Russian
because
yeah.
it can scare, yes.
Yeah, but that something changed. I watched last 3 years this congratulations speech of President Putin to Russian nation. And the wording did not change. And the length of this is still 4 minutes. And this is still 4 minutes about the greatness of Russian Empire and Russian history and the willingness of Russian soldiers, who is the best golden soldiers in the world, blah, 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 blah. The text is the same. You couldn't distinguish between congratulation speech of this year or previous, or 23, 24, 25. So it is congratulation number 4 during this war, yeah? But the only difference is background. And when I say background now, I mean it. I mean not political background, and not economical background, and not the oil background or oil prices or something. It is funny, but I mean physical background. And President Putin of Russian Federation, he has a speech towards Russian nation. He usually year after year he has the same background. And this background is on the screen. This background is Kremlin. This is some part of Red Square, Kremlin, etc. This is virtual, obviously, not the realistic one, but the same every year. But then when he congratulated Russian people with year 2023, instead of this normal background, he had a background of Russian soldiers. On the back of President Putin stayed something like 20 Russian soldiers in uniform. Where was the research of Russian opposition that this is not real soldiers. This is the faked soldiers from special forces, special security forces, but still, they're soldiers. And now you see the usual picture of center of Moscow city. And I believe that the only reason why this time President Putin does not have soldiers behind of him, because he is not ready to put soldiers behind of him. He knows that they will strike to Putin in this case. Really. 3 years ago, this war did not look like the catastrophic war to Russian population. It was not the war when they lost 1,200,000 soldiers. 1,200,000 soldiers. And the army 3 years ago was on the side of the state, of the government, of Mr. Putin, obviously. And now I don't believe that he could trust his own army. He fears from his own army. This is good news on one hand and bad news on another hand. He is not ready to stop the war, because if he stops the war, so Russian army comes to Moscow. And he is not trust Russian army when they are in Moscow and not in Ukraine.
Really, because all of these 700 soldiers, 700,000 soldiers, yes, which are in Ukraine, they should do something in future, and maybe they can be prepared to make some riot against Putin, like Prigozhin, for example, or something like this.
Exactly. We could expect for this. I can't say exactly from which kind of military forces it could come and which general could start with coup d'etat. It could be, I don't know, for example, the storming troops, which we go to their death on the first day of when they serve in Russian army. And this is the fate. It's like fate. They sign contract, they go to the training camp for a couple of weeks, and they come to the front line, and they know that 80% of them will die on the same day, on the first day of the war. They know that. And people who survived, these 20% who survived, they really does not like Putin, and they really not great supporters of the Putin's regime now.
Do you have a feeling, and I really prepared this question, and you said and mentioned about a catastrophic scenario now for Putin's war. Do you have, Michael, a feeling that 2026 will be fatal for Putin in military or political and above all economic terms?
I really can't say about Putin because I have not enough information from Russia inside. And nobody has enough information from close circle of Mr. Putin. Everybody who says that he knows lies. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
this is very secured, close cycle around Putin, and we don't know what happens inside. We could see only the not inner circle but outside circle of this, and the opinions outside of Kremlin. Yeah, in Russian Federation. So I would come to this question from another angle. Let's start from Mr. Trump. We started from his post in his social network. So let's start from President Trump. 2026 is the breaking year for President Trump, really. That is the second year of his second term. And this is de facto his last chance to be the great president of US history. Not the just one regular president or loser president, but the great American president. This is the last attempt. He really lost his first term in different circumstances, doesn't matter. But generally in the history book, it will be there's a minus, not a plus, some negative effect of President Trump, generally. And he wants revenge, and he came for revenge, and he wants to be in history books as the great president. Yeah, he wrote it on the walls of White House, inside walls, these pictures and texts about president's gallery. But it is not enough for him. He is not so stupid to believe that this is the history. Not he writes the history. So in this year, in 2026, he will make the big steps, let's say. And he will bring tough decisions. And also it will be tough decisions on Russia and about Russia. And on China and about China. And President Putin will be under pressure. Under such a big pressure, which he never felt during his presidency of 26 years of his presidency. So I can't say if he will crack down President Putin, but I would say that it will be the most difficult year for Putin. And the next step, I want him to crack down, but I don't know if it will happen.
But we suppose that he will strike Russia with sanctions and pressure. We think so today with our
No, Iryna, you know, this strike not have to be by sanctions. It could be very, very different. We could bring in examples from the last weeks of previous year. Then Ukraine struck to oil refineries with Western weapon. It was the first time and during all of 4 years of the war. And these strikes were approved by President Trump. Ukraine couldn't do that without approval of President Trump. So President Trump, he is ready not only for sanctions, he is ready for military actions. It will not be military actions of American army. It will be military actions of Ukrainian army, but with American weapon and with American command and with American intelligence service and with American really the decision making, with American decision making.
Yeah, I think that such strikes can take place too, really.
Yeah.
Because Donald Trump should remind to himself and to whole world who is really a strong policeman in this world, and it's the United States of America. Michael, let's move on. Some provisions of a potential peace agreement between Ukraine and Russia may not align with notions of justice. Finnish President Alexander Stubb said in his New Year's address, according to Yle, peace is most often a compromise. We must be prepared for the fact that not all provisions of a peace agreement are likely to correspond to our notion of justice, he stressed while commenting on Russia's war against Ukraine. But we see that Putin doesn't really need any peace agreement at all. And we, Ukraine, cannot agree to demands that are capitulating to us. So what are the scenarios in this case? Should we not expect a peace agreement at all nearest weeks or months maybe? Or will we see such pressure on Putin not only by the United States, by European Union, 20th package of sanctions and so on? And this pressure try to help Putin realize that his end is in the nearest months.
You know, Finnish statement, President of Finland said that, so Finnish statement is the Finnish statement. I mean, the Finnish statement about this peace agreement.
Yes.
Because the reality is, I will bring just one example. Just one example of big gap in the positions, and the gap which couldn't be covered by usual diplomacy or by usual laws or anything. As you know, Ukraine generally agreed for some kind of referendum about peace plan. Let's not discuss which kind of referendum and about which question, it doesn't matter. But for doing this, and the President Trump supports some idea of referendum, yeah? But you could organize the referendum, you could conduct the referendum about the document which is signed by another side, you know? If Ukrainians conduct the referendum about any paper which is not signed by Russians, so this is senseless. We conducted the referendum and we say, for example, yes. And Russia says, no. We want in this point that and this point that. And at this second, the referendum was absolutely senseless and doesn't have any legitimacy. So, for a referendum, we have Russia to sign the agreement first. So Russians should sign something, Putin should sign something, which is not approved by Ukrainian nation still. And Ukrainian nation could say no on the referendum. directly to the face of Putin. So I say you, President Putin is not ready to sign something which is not signed by Ukraine. That's it. This is the poor fact. So I believe this is absolutely dead end. All this idea of referendums and all this idea of giving some land to Russians, this is dead end, which is unresolvable. There is no law on the planet which could afford to give up some lands to Russians. That's it. We are in 21st century. In the 21st century, there is no the law like that. So if this action couldn't be legal, and each agreement which will be signed illegally, tomorrow Ukrainian nation could say, no. That was illegally, and President Zelensky does not have any proxy to sign that. Arrivederci, yeah, we are not ready. So this is that end in this case. The only possibility, the only option, real option. This is not about these 20 points or 28 paragraphs or something like that. The only real chance is ceasefire on the current front line. That's it. Ukraine is ready to the ceasefire for the current front line. Russia is not ready for this. And this is the gap. And only President Trump, the only person on the world who could close this gap, to press on President Putin and on Russian Federation and to persuade him somehow to sign the agreement about ceasefire on the current front line.
So, Michael, will confront Putin on the battlefield, strike at their legitimate military targets, and show that at the same time we are ready for the diplomatic track. We know all these are tasks. Thank you very much for this conversation in this new year. I wish you all the best for yourself and for our content, for our viewers. See you later. Take care, Michael.
Thank you, Iryna. Bye-bye.
Michael Sheitelman, political strategist. My name is Iryna Uzlova. Guys, thank you for joining, watching us. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, please. War and Politics 24, Uzlova Talks and Sheitelman. See you next week. Take care.